All right, guys. Today we're going to be talking about some budget CS2 skins that I actually think are amazing investments right now. Now, I know that I'm not typically somebody that invests in too many skins. I think generally skins are not really that amazing of CS2 investments. They are fun ways to have really cool in-game items that will probably make you a little bit of money over time, but they're not generally the best ROI. They're not generally the best investments overall. But these skins I'm going to be talking about in the video today, like this one right here, this Glock 18 Candy Apple, are actually some generally investment worthy and investment grade stuff. So I actually think this is going to be a really cool video. And right now is actually specifically even a great time to buy, since we've recently seen prices crashing down a little bit, taking a little bit of a dip, even though these items have been on a skyrocket upward. So now's even a better time than usual to buy into some of these budget CS2 items that we're going to be talking about in this video today. But of course, first, I just want to mention my cash trading business. If you guys are looking to sell any of your CS2 items, turn them into cold hard cash, crypto, PayPal, any other payment method, definitely hit me up over on Twitter. It's going to be the first link in the description below. Also, Discord is going to be linked down below as well. Feel free to hit me up over there if that is easier, better, works out for you, whatever. I like to buy anything and everything for the right price, but of course, we like to get the big deals done around here. We've been getting some cool deals done lately, so I want to keep that train rolling. So, yeah, if you have any, expensive skins, gloves, knives, bolt cases, maybe you want to sell your entire inventory, whatever, hit me up. We can probably get a deal done. With that being said, let's get right into this video today. So, what we are talking about today is a lot of these skins that were previously in the active drops, skins that you could get from your care package, your weekly drop where you get like a case and you get a skin. There's a ton of these skins that were recently removed from that. They added in, the new collections like the Ascent collection, the Boreal collection. I can't remember what the third one is named, but we got those really cool new collections added to CS2. They brought in and they removed stuff like Italy and Bank and, some of these other collections. And a lot of those skins were trash, and a lot of those skins were trash skins that are, there's literally millions of a lot of those skins out there, but some of the skins are actually pretty decent. Some of the skins, despite having literally millions of them, were still, worth a little bit of money because people love using them as play skins so much, and they had so much demand as good-looking cheap skins. Stuff like the Glock 18 Candy Apple. Now, again, the Glock 18 Candy Apple was a actively dropping skin from the Italy collection for a long time, and we can look that even before this update happened, this thing was still 60 cents, 70 cents, $1 even, despite the fact that there are so many of these out there, and I don't know exactly how many Glock 18 Candy Apples and Factory New there are out there, whatever, but again, this is something that's been active duty for a long time. Understand the supply is massive on these things, but that's a bad thing. Obviously, you don't necessarily want to invest into things that have massive supplies, but the good thing here is that despite having the massive supply, the fact that the price isn't 3 cents, it's insane that this isn't a 3-cent skin, despite the fact that there are hundreds of thousands or millions or whatever out there. So this is actually a great sign that the price was holding up strong. Now, all of a sudden, you have these things removed around this time right here, March 31st, April 1st, whatever, and it goes from $1.13, spikes up to $1.71, and a lot of people are like, oh, it's just a short-term spike. Again, there's so much supply out there. These aren't going to be a great investment, whatever. But you can see that this graph has gone absolutely insane since these things have been removed. Since their removal around, the end of March, beginning of April, the Glock 18 Candy Apple in Factory New is up 258%. If you just bought, even if you bought at terrible prices, even if you bought after they had already been pumped after being removed, you have still made 121%. You've doubled your money if you bought at the peaks of the day that these things were removed. That is absolutely insane. Now, again, why I'm saying that these are great investments overall. These are great budget investments because, the Glock 18 Candy Apple, this is something that's like $4 even now, even after being up, triple what it used to be or whatever. These are still only $4. Now, of course, you don't have to buy in Factory New. There's field tested. There's a ton of other options we're going to be going over in this video as well. So even field tested, this thing gets all the way down to, $1. And in the past 6 months, it's still up 64%. These have been very good. And overall, I can see why. I think this is a very nice looking Glock skin. Also, what I love about investments like this is these are nice play skins. If you had a Glock 18 Candy Apple, it doesn't look bad in game. You could use that as a legitimate play skin and get some use out of it there. But also why I love budget investments like this. Again, I'm not generally somebody that loves investing in skins. I think there's better ways to go. I think cases and stickers and discontinued items, stuff like that can be better. But some of these skins, these are skins that I would actually invest in. I actually am invested in some of these, and I honestly want to buy even more. But why I love budget investments is, one, so many people come to me, being like, oh, I got $4, I got $10, I got $100, and I want to put in the CS stuff. What should I buy? And generally, oftentimes I tell people, it's not really worth it to invest $5 or $10 or $100, whatever, because even if you double your money, maybe you made $5, maybe you made $10, maybe you made $100, whatever, and that's nice, but that's not really going to change anything for you. I want and generally think investing is a tool that should be used, to change your financial situation, to change your life, to get really crazy, amazing stuff done. So I think you should get to the point where you try to make more money, try to save more money, try to be able to put meaningful amounts into the CS market so you can make $1,000, you can make $10,000, you can make $100,000. I know so many people in this scene that have, bought a motorcycle in cash from their CS2 investments, bought a car in cash from their CS2 investments, paid off their student loans, put a down payment on a house, done really, really insane things, because you can see that the gains in CS can be absolutely insane. Again, we're talking about in 1 year, something as silly as a Glock 18 candy apple is about 500%. Now, if you put a meaningful amount of money into these, you could have, 4, 5, 6 extra money, something like that, something absolutely ridiculous. But another reason, obviously, is a lot of people are scared, and a lot of people just don't have a lot of money. Times are tough. A lot of people don't have a ton of money to be putting into stuff like CS2 investments forever, so I love budget options there. But then another reason why I do love budget options is budget options can work even for people on a big budget. Even if you have $1,000, $10,000, even if you have a $50,000 inventory, whatever, that doesn't mean that budget options and budget investments are off the table. You can still put a lot of money into budget options. You can buy 1,000 Glock 18 candy apples. You can buy, 100 of each of the options I'm going to talk about in this video. So, something like cases. Cases are very, very cheap. I have a ton of money in cases, even though they're very, 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 very cheap. Just because something is budget does not mean that, higher tier inventories and bigger players in the CS2 investment scene are like too cool or too big or too good or whatever for them. So budget options are something that work for everyone. If there's some amazing investment, but it's super pricey, that can price people out. But at the budget level, things can be really, really good for everyone. Now why it is specifically a great time to look at stuff like this right now is we are seeing a little bit of a dip in this stuff because of the recent trade reversal update and stuff like that. You can see a lot of the stuff peaked in the middle of July. The Glock 18 candy apple in field test, it was $1.30, July 12th, and it is now down to $1.10. So we've seen a nice little dip there. Glock 18 candy apple in factory new, July 14th was $4.37. It is now down to $3.99, even had a dip all the way down to $3.38, but you can see this stuff has rebounded very, very, very nicely. This thing has rebounded off that trade reversal update. A lot of the market was down, a lot of the market was spooked, a lot of people in the markets were scared and cashing out and selling and all that stuff, but people are kind of turning around once again. So again, the Glock 18 candy apple is not the only option here. It's not the only way to go. You have cheaper options like the AWP Safari Mesh and Factory New. This thing is up 169% in the last 6 months. Again, you can see here, right around when it was removed, it was $1.50, spikes up to $4.50, and now we're sitting at $4.09. Again, it is down from the all-time highs of like $6.35, so maybe it's a good time to buy in. I don't know. You have the AWP Pit Viper. This is from the Italy collection. AWP Safari Mesh is from the Lake collection. You have the AWP Pit Viper in minimum wear. Now again, if you want it more expensive, you can always go up in wears for all these skins. If you want cheaper, you can go down in wears for all these skins, but something like the AWP Pit Viper minimum wear up 49% in the past 6 months. Again, another great budget option right now that's just been having some insane gains. A little bit more expensive one from the Bank collection. This is going to be the AK-47 Emerald Pinstripe, but still pretty crazy gains, 48% gains in the past 6 months. Now I know a lot of people want to like double, triple, quadruple their money in CS or whatever, but 48% gains in 6 months, that is insane. In general investing, people try to get like 10% a year. 10% per year is like really good. That's strong returns. You're talking about 48% in 6 months. That's insane. I don't even know what the 1 year looks like on this. If we go to the 1 year, yeah, still about the same, 53%. This has been a very, very up and down skin. I don't necessarily recommend the Emerald Pinstripe over some of the cheaper options. I think some of the budget ones are probably, you're better off with. Here we have the P250 Franklin and Factory New. Last 6 months, 75% gains here. You can see, again, back at the beginning of July, it was like 407. Now it's down to 368. So you're going to buy the dip on stuff that's kind of just upward projections overall. Mac 10 candy apple, another really, really good one. This is a cheap one, 83 cents, but it's up 255% in the past 6 months. And again, in the middle of June, it was $1.23. We're now down to 83 cents. But again, if you look at the overall trend, this is still massively up. And I think these things are just going to go up over time, especially, again, it's a very nice looking skin. These candy apple skins are very clean. They're very good looking. Desert Eagle Meteorite, another interesting one. This one's only up 2% in the past month. If we look at the past 6 months, 108% gains. Again, this was $1.42 before that update that removed it. This is part of the bank collection, and then it spiked up to $1.86, and it hasn't stopped there. It just kind of kept going up. Again, this is one that dropped. You can see 326 before the trade reversal update, down to 256, but now back up to 311. We have the Galil Tuxedo, another interesting one that people do really like, 60% gains in the past 6 months. That's one to keep an eye on. And then we have the Sawed Off Amber Fade and Factory New as well, up 109% in the past 6 months. So those are all some of the skins from these different collections like Bank, Italy, Train, whatever, that were removed. A lot of these skins are really, really cheap, but a lot of these skins have had absolutely insane kind of returns over the past 6 months, past 4 months even since they've been removed. But now a lot of these are starting to see a little bit of a dip. A lot of these are down from all-time highs because of the trade reversal update, but a lot of them are already starting to bounce back, or already starting to trend back up, and now I think could be a really, really good time to buy a lot of these budget CS2 skins that I think are going to have a lot better returns than, everyone wants to buy the $1,000 knife or the $2,000 op or the $5,000 AK or whatever. But some of these $1, $2, $4 skins, even less than $1 skins, I think are going to have pretty crazy returns over the next couple of years. And I think they're going to outperform a lot of expensive stuff that people might be a little bit focused on instead. But yeah, I don't know. These are some of my favorite investments right now. Right, currently, I only own OpSafari meshes. I have a couple hundred OpSafari meshes in field tested. But I'm honestly looking at buying some stuff like Mac 10 Silver, Glock Candy Apple, some of that stuff, and adding that to my portfolio. I think maybe a couple $1,000s could make sense, but we'll have to wait and see. I don't know. Pretty much it for this video today, guys. Hopefully catch you in the next one. Until then, peace.